With infinite complaisance, people went to and fro over the earth about their little affairs, serene in the assurance of their dominion over this small, spinning fragment of solar driftwood, which by chance or design man has inherited out of the dark mystery of time and space.
On this episode of Into the Fray, I welcome Mark Mills on with me, and he is a Bigfoot researcher out of Ohio, and I am so looking forward to talking about Bigfoot for the entire episode. Mark, welcome on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, we probably had to start with this. How in the world did you get into Bigfoot? How did this all start for you?
All right. Well, when I was a youngster in Hawaii, my dad took me to the movies and we saw this movie called The Monster or The Legend of Boggy Creek. And I'm like, wow, I didn't know they had a monster. I thought it was all hokey, but they had that movie and it kind of stuck in the back of my head. And then as time went on, Monster Quest come out. And they were talking about, each episode they had different things, different monsters, and Bigfoot was one episode. I'm like, huh, that's pretty wild. So kind of give me a flashback to the movie as a youngster, and I'm like, wow. So in 1997, I had a friend that lived over in Woodsfield, Ohio. He said, hey, let's go check the woods out at night over there. And I said, that sounds good. So at the time I lived in Columbus, Ohio, so we had to drive down to Woodsfield, Ohio, which was like southeast of Columbus. And we get out there and it's like in December, right? So in December, what's around? Frost, right? We're out there like 11:30 at night. We're tromping through these woods. Never been in my life. We just went out there, for giggles. And we find this tree. And on this one tree, every branch going straight up was twist snap. And the brute strength to do that, just I was sitting there gawking going, wow, how could something do that? That wasn't damage from the wind. That wasn't a tree fell. This was actually twist snap straight up this tree. And I was taking pictures, right, with a 35 millimeter camera. And as we're sitting there, we're all talking about this. There's a fence line going through there, an old barbed wire fence line. And on that barbed wire fence line, we found some hair, but I think it was deer hair. But what I think happened was this creature was coming through there and tripped on it. And whatever it was, got up mad and just, you know what I'm saying, tearing these branches, because I never seen nothing like this. So I'm getting these pictures, and as we're sitting there, right, here you go. You ready for this kicker? This is what happened. It went, let me tell you something. There's no tree frogs anywhere in America I know of when there's frost on a tree croaking. You follow me? So at that point, we all just about face, and there we go. And we got out of the woods, and I would say that was my first encounter with the creature in Ohio.
Now, did you guys go out there thinking the word Bigfoot, or you just wanted to go traipse around in the woods at night?
Well, it's the combination of both. Like I said, we just wanted to go see because Monster Quest was on at the time, and we were just like, let's go check this out and see what's going to happen. And like I said, it was all S and giggles. And so we're out there and we find this tree. I got the pictures, beautiful, all these branches tore up. And this will come into play later on down the road in this interview. So anyways, we get out of the woods, and I would say that was my first encounter with Bigfoot because let me tell you something, there ain't no tree frogs going in the winter. You follow me? That's a dead giveaway of something wrong. But anyways, that was my first encounter. So the next year, March, in the Columbus Dispatch, they came out with this newspaper clip and say, hey, there's going to be a Bigfoot conference in Ohio. And I'm like, what? And that's when I met you, I believe, was at that conference in 98, maybe. And that's when Don Keating had the white Bigfoot video where the creature was running down the road. And so I go to that conference and I'm like, what? And I went there with like a reporter's attitude, just writing information down, right? Like, they were back then. I think John Horgan was there talking about somebody was talking about the Java Man and some other people at the conference. But anyways, that's what really got me going was that Columbus Dispatch paper saying Bigfoot in Ohio. There was like 12 sightings that previous year. And that's the first time I seen any paper clipping of that. You know what I'm saying?
Now, what did your family think about you being into Bigfoot and going out into the woods to try to search for the big guy?
Well, back in that day, you were considered on drugs. Yeah, you're on drugs. There ain't no damn thing in the woods that's running around that ain't nobody seen in all these years. And I'm like, oh, yeah, well, let's go camping. And every time I invite somebody camping, you know what? Oh, I got plans because they're scared. See, Ohio's full of Bigfoot. People don't know that. We're number 6 in the nation. And that's a fact because down in my camp, they run on the mountain all the time. Down in Adams County, Ohio, they're down there. But the thing is with them is I don't bother them. They don't bother me.
Are you of the mind that you go out and you just do your thing, and if they're interested in you, great? Or do you go out and you do tree knocks, or you do any kind of calls?
Oh,
What kind of things do you implement?
oh, I do everything under the sun that they say that doesn't work. I got a video, Shannon, that I need somebody to help me to pull a picture off of. That's a juvenile Sasquatch looking at me, and there's wood knocks and all this on the video, which is later. But and then I got a thermal image of 3 of them. One of them throwing a rock at me. This is all on thermal image. Nobody's got to see yet, but maybe Cliff Brackman. He's telling me it's raccoons, and I'm like, well, how do raccoons throw rocks at you, buddy? And he didn't say nothing. But anyways, I got that video, and then I got video of a white one moving a branch away, and then it goes back, but I don't know. It's on a chip, and I got all these chips. I ain't went through them. I'm always busy, but to get back to your question on that, when I go out in the woods, I'll do wood knocks. I'll do the howls. I do screams. I learned a lot in all these years. Like the very first thing you should do when you get out of any vehicle is turn on your recorder, period. Because I missed 2 scream events just not having them on getting out of the vehicle where a woman sounded like she's being murdered. But anyways, I do it all. Like, okay, I'm gonna give you some instances. Like, or do you want to hear about my very first encounters?
Wherever you want to go, Mark.
I can go everywhere. I just should start out where it all started for me. My first Bigfoot encounter where it scared the poo out of me. Okay, I went camping the first time ever in Ohio in '98 after that Bigfoot conference, or it's before. I can't remember if it's before. It's in May. So I can just tell you, I went camping in May. We went out to a place called Hoadley Road down there in Wayne National Forest. And what we did was we parked at his grandpa's property and we hiked up this ridge and went maybe a quarter of a mile to an overhang that was actually right on the edge of Wayne National Forest. I mean, it's like right on the borderline, but you're like 100 yards up a hill off the road in this overhang. And it's a big overhang. It's like shoot, I can stand up and just about touch the ceiling. You might come out about 6 foot from the back wall, and then it's like a third of a tire just shoved in the hill. And so we hiked up in there. I lived in Columbus, and this is way down there in Wayne National Forest. So we went down there, May. We got there about midnight. Time we unloaded everything was 2 in the morning. So all I did was blew up a mattress and laid down on it in this overhang. And I was like, what if one of these rocks fall off and crush me? I said, oh, well, don't worry about it. So I passed out for the night, woke up the next morning. We cooked breakfast. After breakfast, we both got new guns. I had a shotgun and my buddy, he had a pistol. So we just started shooting for no reason. We throw something out. Boom, boom, boom. We're laughing out. Hey, this is cool. So we're in the middle of nowhere. I mean, middle of nowhere in Wayne National. So later on that day, we would go out and get firewood all over the place. We would get firewood here, and I'd go over here, and he's like, hey, Mark, over here. Hey, Mark, come over here. And we're getting firewood and for the night's fire. So we ended up getting cherry wood because we were going to cook steaks on the fire with baked potatoes and corn on the cob. So imagine that just going through the woods right there. So we have dinner, we eat dinner, it's starting to get dark. This is where stuff starts changing. As soon as it starts getting dark, he's out there chopping firewood for the night's fire after we had dinner and threw our scraps down the hill. My buddy Greg's out there chopping wood. So I'm sitting there on this picnic table they drug years ago under this overhang. I'm sitting there and I made a blind with paper towels. And back in them days, our lanterns were the old white gas where you had to pump them up. So I had the lantern in there. So I made a blind where the light wasn't in my eyes, but I'm sitting in this overhang just looking way out in the woods at night. Just a nice setup for the evening. While he's chopping wood, all of a sudden I hear this branch go snap right over everything. I mean, it was just a violent snap. And I'm like, what the? And I had this boombox playing while he's chopping firewood, so I immediately turned it off to hear what the snap was. And I turned it off and I was like, Greg, did you hear that? And he goes, what? I said, did you hear that snap? And he goes, what snap? And I said, that snap. I said, never mind. I ain't playing the radio no more tonight. So at that point, I'm sitting there and he gets done chopping for a minute. So I go over there and I'm chopping on woods for a minute, about 10 minutes. And by this time, it's about 9:15 and it's getting dark, about 9:30, I'd say. So I go sit down next to him. And while we're sitting there, all of a sudden, whatever was out there picked up the end of this tree, is what it sounded like. Picked it up, lifted up about 5 feet off the ground, and just went bam. And I don't mean a branch, I mean like a whole tree, because it literally shook the ground under our feet in the overhang. And when that happened, I grabbed my shotgun, started loading it up, and Greg got his 45. And back in them days, all you had was a little 2D cell flashlight, so them didn't go too far, right? So we're out there trying to find what's made that noise. And it had our attention, right? Because I ain't never heard nothing do that before. So we look around, we don't see nothing. And as about another 20, 30 minutes go by, we went back to relax mode and we're sitting there and it's kind of quiet. Greg ends up passing out on me at this point because he'd been drinking beer all day. He was done. And it's about midnight, so he's gone on his cot, passed out, and I'm sitting there and wondering what's making all this noise out there, right? So that's when it really was getting hairy. So the next thing I heard was footsteps coming from my left down this valley that was down below me, and they were going, and I don't mean like a human or a deer or, them type sounds. This was like compression weight. As if the feet were stepping down, you could hear twigs snapping from the compression. Just this was a big daddy or mama, whatever it was big because it was big. So what I would do is take my camera and aim in the area. It was an old throwaway camera, one of them ones disposables that had like 26 pictures, and it had a flash, so I'd take the picture, boom, and when I would take the flash, it would stop dead. It was like looking at me going down the valley, but when the flash hit an eye, it would stop it, boom, like, hey, you got my eyesight. So I'm sitting there tripping, and Greg's passed out, and this is going on now. This is like after midnight. And this went on for like 45 minutes from when it went from my left all the way over to the right up the hill. This went on for like 45 minutes playing this cat and mouse game, taking pictures. So after that went on, it got quiet for about 30 minutes. Now it's like 1:32 in the morning. And whatever was out there started shaking a tree because it was quiet. And this thing was shaking a tree. And I don't mean just shaking it, it was taking it. It either had like a 6-inch round tree, maybe 20 feet tall, shaking that, or it climbed up a tree and sat on a branch and put its arm around the tree and was shaking a branch that way. But it was definitely shaking a tree or a branch for like 30 minutes, just going, like saying, get out of my woods. That's what I was taking that threat as. It went on for like 30 minutes and then it stopped. And when it stopped, I freaked out and I ran over to my buddy Greg and I started shaking. I was like, Greg, there's something out in the woods. Greg, wake up. Greg. He sits up. He lasts about 5 minutes before he passes back out. And then by this time, my heart starts going. I'm like, this ain't good. This ain't good. So at that point, I've got to get back because that starts freaking me out. Okay. Then it got quiet, and then now it started walking again back the opposite way where it came from. And then the next thing I know, it must have circled back around because it was right on top of the overhang. And how I know that was the fire was smoldering all night, right? So the smoke was rising right outside the overhang, and it tried to sniff me out. And when it went, it sneezed. And the only way I can describe the lung power is if you ever heard a horse go, that was the kind of lungs it had. Huge lungs. But it did it 3 times, like three sneezes because the smoke got right in its nostril. And then it got quiet for a while, and I'm really freaking out now. This is about 4 in the morning now. I'm freaking. And then it got quiet for a while, and this is what blew my mind was when it started going. It mimicked my name and go, Mark Rock Rock, Mark Rock Rock, Mark Rock Rock, 6 times guttural like that. And that freaked me out bad. That's God's honest truth. So after that point, I said, I got a shotgun. I will shoot you. I'm going to kill you. Whoever you are, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to shoot you. I got a shotgun. About that time, it got quiet again for about another 20 minutes. The next thing it did, it grunted, went, 3 big guttural grunts. And that freaked me out bad. And that's when I said, I got my gun. I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to shoot you. Then it got quiet again. About this time, the sun's starting to come up because this has been going on all night, just tormenting to me. Well, my buddy's passed out, right? And then all of a sudden, about 5:30 in the morning, kaboom! Lightning started and rain just everywhere, right? And I mean, big raindrops were coming down. So now I have no perception of nothing. It's just, I'm blind. So at that point, I think my lantern goes out, and you never seen nobody run over there as fast as I did, like they do the Indy pit car tires. I'm doing the white gas and the lantern, trying to get light back because I'm terrified to death at this point. Got no light. So I'm putting gas in my lantern, and I'm getting it filled up. I'm getting it. I mean, it was like 5 seconds seemed like to do that because I'm terrified. I pump it up. I get the lantern going again. My hands are shaking. The rain stops, and then it's quiet again. There's nothing. It's just quiet. So at this point, I'm just chain smoking because at that time I smoked, and I'm walking back and forth with my shotgun and my little flashlight, just ready to shoot anything because I'm terrified. And I kept saying, God, make the sun come up. God, make the sun come up. God, make the sun come up. Well, finally, the sun's coming up. And then when Greg wakes up, I'm sitting there making some coffee and food, and I'm just wired out naturally from the things going on all night. And he's like, "What's wrong?" And I said, "You remember when it went boom and all this stuff?" He's like, "Yeah, I thought you were shooting something." I said, "No." So we had company here, and it's all night. And he goes, "Well, you got your wish. That's what you want." I said, well, I didn't want to wish like that where I'm terrified to death. No, I just wanted to see something, not to be terrified. You know what I'm saying? That's what exactly happened on that first counter. It terrified me. Well, finally, I told him watch my back, and I took my shotgun. I ran out of the overhang, and I'm looking everywhere with my shot. I'm ready to blast anything because I kept saying, "I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to kill you." Well, thank you, God. Whatever it was gone, right? So I had to regroup myself for a minute because that's a disturbing night. That's just the first night, right? So that's where I'm at this point. That's what night number 2. I'm sorry. First night was nothing. The second night was encounter. So at this point, we eat some breakfast, and he said, "Let's go up top the hill." And I go, "What are you saying?" And he said, "There's a trail that goes up top this hill." And I said, "Really?" So we climb up this hill, and there's this old dilapidated house that's been abandoned with no roof, and it's dilapidated. You can tell animals been living in and out of this place, but what it was like a big gas right away up there that went pretty far, and the grass was kind of high, about 4 foot high, but it was still right away. They kind of kept the trees out for miles. And then Greg proceeds to tell me when I was a kid up here one day, something took off running like a bear through here. And I was like, thanks for telling me that now. But he said it looked like a bear. He didn't know. It just was run off horse, took through there because it never stood up. So he didn't know what that was. But anyways, we proceeded to walk down that gas line for about a quarter mile. And when we did, on the right, there's this opening. I kid you not, it was like 8 foot high. Going in and out of these woods and maybe 5 foot wide, like a doorway. I never seen nothing. It was like perfectly cut out of the woods up there. And so we decided to walk in them woods. And let me tell you something, at noon, it was pitch black almost in these woods. And it had little ferns interwoven all through the floor in there. And I started shaking. I'm like, this is where they come from. This is their lair. We got to get out of here. Because I had the chills down my spine, like the EBGBs, like, we got to go. So we backed out of there, and the whole time I felt like I was being watched. And that's when I first felt, when people say, you know, the feeling, that was the feeling, that being watched. It's like, whoosh, we're out of here. So we got out of there, and what was amazing was we just decided to drop down the hill from there, right? Well, guess where we ended up? Right above the overhang for camp. I'm like, imagine that. That's where they came from. So the next night, his girlfriend comes up. This is our last night there. His girlfriend comes up from Kentucky to spend the night with us, and him and her go in this tent. And I told Greg he's going to stay on watch for a while. And I made him a pot of coffee. I even drank me a little because I've been up 2 days. I ain't had no sleep. I'm like really just frazzled at this point. So Greg's sitting there, and I laid down. And as soon as I laid down, you hear this. It's like it's the only way I could describe it was like somebody was pushing a refrigerator on a dolly through the woods, just tearing down the woods, just cutting down the hill, just. And I jump up and I get my little flashlight. I can't see nothing. And the thing was, his girlfriend brought the dog, and it was running around in the woods earlier when they got there. I think that's part of what was going on. And that was like at 10 o'clock. So at that point, I started drinking coffee. Get it? Greg goes, what was that? A deer? And I go, think about it, Greg. Does a deer run through the woods like a freight train? Well, no. And I go, I don't think that was a deer. Oh, that's what I think it was. All right. Well, let me tell you something. Go get in bed with your girlfriend. So I told him to go get in bed because there goes my adrenaline jump again for the third time. So I started drinking coffee pretty heavy. So at midnight, it came the opposite way. It came up. Let's see. It came across the hill. See, it came across the hill this time one way. So it came across at 10 o'clock at night. It came up and down the hill at midnight. And then at 1 o'clock in the morning, it just ran some kind of crazy through the woods. About 1 o'clock in the morning, I said, I had enough of this already again. So I had a bunch of trash and I don't know. I just threw it all on the fire to light the whole woods up. I made a big fire because I'm so frazzled this time. I want to see whatever it is. I never did see what it was, but that night I have to back up. That night when it was when it was walking through the woods, that's when I saw the eyeballs 8 foot off the ground, and they were blue. And they were like an ape, and they were far apart. They weren't like a human. They were like ape apart, but they were blue, all blue. There was no whites. It was like looking at just blue eyes, like ape eyes. And that's what I think terrified me the most that whole night, was seeing the eyes. And that's all I ever saw that creature that night, that whole weekend. So when the sun was coming up and Greg was sleeping with his girlfriend, I already had enough. So I packed all my stuff because his girlfriend could drive him back to 3.5 hours Columbus. I'm going home. I can't be out in the woods no more. So I took off and went home to Columbus and about crashed going home. But that was my first encounter of the Bigfoot guy in Ohio. That was number one.
I mean, when you finally got to see these eyes, that must have been quite a stunning moment.
That's what freaked me out. See, I'm failed to mention that when that was the first thing I saw after somewhere in the night when it was walking and making the walking noise. That's when I caught the eyes when I was trying to take one of the pictures. And that's what freaked me out was seeing them eyes because they were big as golf balls, but they were further wider than a human. But they were blue. They weren't red. They weren't yellow, green. They were blue, like my eyes, but no whites. And it's like the light blue and a bigger blue. But the thing that freaked me out was how far apart they were and how big they were, size of golf balls. That's what I think terrified me the most. Because when I've been camping all my life in the woods since I was a little guy, I was in Cub Scout, Boy Scouts, Weeblos, camped out. Never had problems with Bigfoot, snipe hunt in Louisiana swamps as a kid or out in Mississippi. Never had problem. But as soon as I come to Ohio, first time I go camping ever, boom, guess who I run into? Mr. Ohio Squatchy. That was my first encounter.
So, how close then were you to this creature to be able to tell that he had blue eyes?
Oh, he was only 25 feet. It was 20, 30 foot, wasn't far. And it was off the ground a good 6 to 8 foot. Because the hill was going down grade. You'd have to see it. I got pictures of the area, but to be there and know the area and where the pictures are to match it up, I'd have to take you back, blah, blah, blah. But I would say this creature's every bit 7, 8 foot tall, just from the eye and the noise and shaking tree. Oh, it tore the tree too. I forgot. Did I tell you that? Where it tore the tree down? Did I say that?
I don't know if no, I think that was
I
in the
mentioned it
second
tore
night.
the tree down
Yeah.
too. That I don't mention that, but it tore a tree down too. I got pictures of it. It did that first too. It also see I'm kind of scattered on this because when I go back to that story, it's so long ago. But if you go to the BFRO's website, it's all reported in Gallia County, all the encounters, all of them I had down there um, from the BFRO. They even reported that. It's probably the longest story in the BFRO, my encounter for
So,
Gallia County.
so Mark, because you had built the fire up so much, that's why you were essentially able to see his eyes and everything. If you could see his eyes, could you make out anything about his face much?
No, all you could see was eyes. It was you couldn't see. It was so dark that night. That was the thing. And you got to imagine I'm under a canopy of trees. There's no moonlight penetrating. It's dark. I mean, it's dark. It was in the middle. It was May and it was dark and it also was stormy night. So clouds. There was no light. Yeah, it was. It tore down. I forgot to tell you. After it smashed the tree on the ground, it tore down the tree. And that's what I forgot to mention too. And then that's when it started walking through the woods. And then that's when I saw the eyes.
So was it essentially blue eye shine? Would you categorize it as
Yeah.
that?
No, it was blue eyes. They weren't shine. I saw the eyes. They were blue. They
So
were blue. They were definitely blue because that's what blew my mind was, am I looking at myself, the devil? They were blue. Just they were blue because I got more stories to talk about down here. Like I said, I can be out here for hours. I don't know how long I got because I had 3 encounters.
So I know that, I mean, Wayne National Forest is synonymous with Bigfoot sightings. A lot goes on in Wayne National Forest itself. I mean, really, all of Ohio has something, but what made you guys choose that particular spot? Was there a reason or you just ended up there?
Oh, that spot was, well, my buddy's been going there since he's a kid. It's family plot, family land. And that's why I went there. We didn't have to pay to camp. See, so it was like my first time camping in Ohio. We go there. When he first got out of the car, when we got there, I failed to mention he shot his pistol off. And I think that attracted them too. That got their attention. I don't know why he did that. I'm like, why'd you do that? He goes, I just wanted to shoot it. I'm like, that's nice. But that's him. That was great. He was a wild guy. But he'd been camping there all his life. See, I'm a new guy. And I think what happened was, too, this is my thought when I always go back and think of it, right? If Bigfoot's territorial, like I've discovered all this, and they say they are, and this and that. Well, during the day when I'm out in the woods, guess what I'm doing? I'm going over there to urinate and over there to defecate, over there to urinate. And I don't think big guy like that. New guys in my neighborhood. See what I'm saying? He knew Greg, but he didn't like me because I'm out there. That's my thought on the whole thing. That's what I come up with.
I mean, you guys were definitely making some ruckus. You were shooting guns, and then you're cooking good food. You
Yeah,
got good
yeah,
smells.
yeah.
You
That's
were,
what I'm saying. Everything we did was attracting. When he's
y-
hollering, we're chopping wood. That's when I learned wood knocking. Chopping wood is associates wood chopping. That attracts them too.
yeah, and you guys were
Cutting wood
playing
with an
music too.
axe. Yeah, music. Yeah, whatever it was, we definitely attracted this one, and it was a big one because it wasn't happy
I have to
when
say,
it could.
Mark, I've never, I don't think, I shouldn't say never, but I don't recall of anyone saying they've heard Bigfoot sneeze. Did you happen to catch that on a recorder?
No, I didn't have a recorder. Like I said, I wasn't looking for Bigfoot that time, and back then we didn't have all the new tech. This was
Yeah.
when you got pump up gas lantern. Like nowadays, you just got propane or LED. Back then was it old. We're talking 98. Back then, there just wasn't. That's when all the new camping gear started coming. But that was my first encounter, and then what I did was after that time I started going out to Coshocton, and I got me a topographical map, and I started going squatching out at Coshocton. My first time out at Coshocton, looking around, I found a 3-toe footprint, which I got a picture of it, and it looked like a hunter was following a deer and the Bigfoot was following a hunter or something, because they were all three in a line, and that was wild. I got a picture of that, but unfortunately, I didn't put no money or footprint up to it or tape measure because I was greenhorn at the time. I really wasn't a Bigfoot investigator. You start learning stuff. You know what I'm saying? When you're a greenhorn at the stuff, you don't know nothing. You learn all this on your own. You try to hear other people's stories. I'm always fascinated. I go hear other podcasts and this and that. But anyways, we would go out and that's what we would do. We get our topographical map. Like I found that same footprint up at a cemetery up in the hill down there in Coshocton by County Road 6. Now I can take you out there and we'll have encounter. Guaranteed. That place is hot. They find footprints out there all the time, but I go out there at night and it's a hot spot always at County Road 6. I just ain't gonna tell people where, but that's a hot spot. So, anyways, when I go out in the woods and do all this stuff, I'll do wood knocks, I'll do the house. I have the recorders. I got at Salt Fork. I used to go out there. I got a footprint on the Orange Loop. I've had over 32 encounters with Bigfoot where rocks or sticks come at me in all these years of research. If you go to my Facebook page, Buckeye Squatcher, and look under my pictures, you can see all the Bigfoot stuff that's going on down in Adams County and in Ohio. Stick structures. I find stick structures down in Adams County everywhere by my property. I'm always looking for them. My second encounter, I gotta go find this one now, was in the same spot. The first one happened in May. The second one was in September in the same area, the same place my first encounter, the same overhang. We were camping there, and I can't sleep there at night at that overhang. Again, it was a 3-day weekend. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, and I can't sleep there at night. So what I do is I take my flashlight and I pass it along the ground and up in the trees when I was there, because that's how terrified I am of that area. Um, the third night there, the Sunday night at 3 in the morning, or actually Monday morning, because it was a holiday. I'm doing my scan to my left, to my right, and boom, there's something standing there in front of me. And this one was 7 foot tall. His shoulders were 4 foot wide. The color of it was like a blonde cocker spaniel dog, and it was just frozen right in front of me. And I'm sitting there freaking out, and Greg's sleeping because I can't sleep there. And I got the light on this thing, and I'm like, what am I looking at? And so I'm looking at it, just trying to figure it out. And by this time, it squats down into a squat position. And when it did that, it blew my mind. So I had to run back about 10 foot to get my shotgun and run back in the woods. It was gone. And that was my second encounter. I never heard or saw that one, but when I saw it standing there, that's when it was busted.
How close were you to it?
That one was another 20, 25 foot right there in front of me. It wasn't far away, about 25 foot right there. It was right there. That was freaky.
So the grabbing of the gun was just a reaction to the physical size of this thing.
Yeah, well, you got to remember, I had that first encounter where the thing mimicked my name, so I'm already on edge from the months ago. And when I saw this thing squat down, that's when I freaked, because that's when it snapped me out of what trance I'm looking at this thing. And that's when I run for my gun, because I wasn't holding it. I just, like I said, when I busted it with my light, I wouldn't even have my gun. It just, when it squatted, it just made me go into that fight or flight, and it was fight. So I went for my gun. And when I run back out the light looking around, it was gone. I didn't even hear where it went to. It was that quiet, just gone.
Now, before the light trained on that Bigfoot finally, how long had you been doing your scanning motion at that point?
Oh, every 30, 40 minutes, all night. All night. I did that all night. I can't sleep there. At them woods? No, I don't sleep in them woods. Not since my first counter.
So,
I
and
can't sleep.
I do love this though, because you're not the first person to do this kind of a thing, but you went back to a place that really pretty much terrified you. You have a friend,
Yeah,
Greg, that just sleeps through everything. So it's pretty much just you going through this stuff by yourself.
pretty much.
So you,
Yeah.
I would classify you as, you get bit by the Bigfoot bug, and even though it's scary, you are willing to go back to the scene of the crime essentially and put yourself back through any kind of trauma that may happen.
Yes, because it's all reality. It's all truth. There's no hokey pokey to Bigfoot. Like I always tell people, if you want to see the creature, I'll take you out. I know a lot of spots I would go to, but it's like fishing though. If they're there, they'll let you know. If they're not, it could be just a quiet night. And sometimes they don't let you know they're there. It all depends on the circumstance.
What about so was that the end of that evening once you went and got your gun? It was gone by the
Yeah,
time you came back. Did you, in the morning, did you check for any footprints or tree twists, anything like that?
yeah. I look around there. I always look around, but the ground there in that part of Ohio is so rocky and a little bit dirt. It's more rocky area because it's, I don't know how to
Yeah.
describe, because it's hilly, rocky.
Yeah.
It doesn't really have enough ground where you can get any good impressions. You can see indentations like I got on my first encounter on a picture, and like the tree that it tore up. I got pictures of a lot of this stuff on from 35 millimeter back in the day. So that stuff ain't been hooked like AI, and that's all they want to talk about. Um, but yeah, I don't know how many, like at Salt Fork, I can take you on trails back there. They're back there. They like throwing rocks and sticks at me though, because they always think I'm carrying my camcorder, my camera, my video cameras. I don't know if they try to think it's a weapon or something, but they like throwing rocks to get you out of there, or sticks. It's all forks loaded with any park in Ohio, any woods in Ohio, Bigfoot's gonna be there. It just depends if he's moving through or if that's his home. They're everywhere in Ohio. There's so many places to hide. They got food, water, shelter, running water. They travel. A lot of old reclaimed strip mines from back in the cold days. They're not far from the Appalachian Mountains, which I'm sure they can travel to and from quickly. They follow the Ohio River, is what I think, mostly the Ohio River, up and down the river, along the inland a little bit. My third encounter, we were at Salt Fork one year. I can't remember. This was in the 2000s. And we were at the Stone House. It was just after summer when they shut the place down to tourists. They shut down the Stone House. In October, we were staying there. And me and Nat Man's one of my buddies, Nat Man from up in Akron, and Blue Tracker. I know them guys, and I know Mike Miller and Mike Feltner. They're from Mike Miller, Mike Feltner. They go by the Night Stalkers here in Ohio. They got a good audio they got from down there in Adams County by my camp, that they went on national TV with. But anyways, Bigfoot likes bacon, hot dogs. Well, we used peanut butter. What we used to do too is go around. This is kind of cruel, but we take peanut butter and smudge it on the trees, and that gets their attention. And then we'd shove bread, kind of bait the area. We'd go out in the daytime, bait the area, and then come back at night and set up somewhere. And sometimes you hear all kind of noises. One night we were at the handicap area at Salt Fork. Me and Mike Feltner Feltner, and I did a whistle. I went, and down in the hill from below us at the handicap campground, and just inside the woods, you heard, and it mocked me. And then old Mike's like, "Oh, that thing mocked you, man." I said, "Sure did," and I got that on CD. Yeah, that's why I say it's important to always keep a recorder on, because you'll miss so much. I got a lot of rocks been thrown at me on the CDs. I got a howl from East Fork State Park. One day an airplane flew over, and you could hear on the south side of the park down below the lake, you hear this, oh, just going on, and I got that on CD. But what I do too is I'll take corn. This is something I do is I take corn and boil it, and I'll take it out in the woods somewhere. And what I do is I get bacon grease. Here's the secret. And I get bacon grease and I pour it all over that corn. And I got a picture where something with a big finger grabbed the corn through the bacon grease, because the corn's gone, but you can see where a finger went right through the grease. And then I found the one of the cob corns. It was half eaten. The other one was gone. Never found that ear corn. And in the water was a footprint that I got where it stepped in the water, and the water's cloudy. I got a nice picture of that. Nice footprint in the mud of the water. That's at Salt Fork. Salt Fork and East Fork parks in Ohio. Any park in Ohio's got Bigfoot. You just gotta know how to go find them. You know what I'm saying? They're like everywhere in Ohio. It's if in there in the area, that's the thing. If they're in the area. But anyways, I'm gonna get back to this third one. We're walking down this hill at the Stone House in October, and it's like this big. You're going downhill, and then you got to do a dog leg from your right to your left, and then you'll be at the parking lot downhill at the Stone House. And there's this big ornamental grass along this wall they built up in front of this old house they built out of the stones in the 1900s, out of sandstone. That's why they call it Stone House. And at this day, this lady photographer was taking pictures on the other side of the Stone House with these three girls. And as we're coming around down this hill in the dog leg, this little creature was squatted behind this ornamental grass, trying to look into this duffel bag. And then as we come around the corner, stood up and looked at us like, "Oh, I'm busted." And then it just jetted off to the right fast. I mean, this little guy took off. It's like 4.5 foot tall, brown. It was actually all black. And I never saw the face because it never looked at us. Once it saw us, it just jetted off. 4.5 foot tall, doing about 25, 30 mile an hour. And the bad thing was I had my video camera. It happened so fast, time I realized what was going on, to hit record, it was gone. And it ran back to the right down the trail along the lake. I went down there. I didn't find no footprints. But me and the wife saw it. She actually got to see it. She's like, "What was?" She was in disbelief because her jaw was dropped. She's like, "It's all black. What's somebody doing naked down there?" And I'm like, "That's not a person, honey." And it jetted off to the right. And at the time, Sharon used to go out there. Sharon, I'm trying to think her name. Sharon Lee. She had a podcast years ago, and I went on there and told her about the juvenile. And what it looked like in the face to me, for what I could see at that one, it looked like if you took a human, a chimpanzee, and an ape and rolled it all into one face. That's what it looked like, and it was all black. And it ran fast, like, and on two legs. It was gone, like 25. It was just and gone. And that was the third encounter where I saw it.
So, Mark, before you go on, this woman that you can see across the way is taking pictures, and this creature is behind her, so she's not seeing it in one of her duffel bags.
Yeah, it was in the camera lady's duffel bag, but they were on the other side of the Stone House, and like on the side where they're not in view, taking pictures. And this creature was trying to look in the duffel bag. It was curious. It's probably curious to them because they're girls. Probably didn't have no threat, and it was close spying on them. And when we come down the hill and made that dog leg to the left looking straight down, it looked up and saw us, goes, oh, I'm busted. And there it went. And it was that fast.
How far were you guys from this creature?
At that time, we were probably, I would have to go back to the park to measure that. It was probably 200 or 300 feet down the hill. I'm not sure. It was close enough. It saw us. We saw it, and it bolted. As soon as you make the turn left going down the stone house at Salt Fork, I can't be sure, but it was clear as day. Clear, like I said, it's clear enough to see its face that looked like human, chimpanzee, and ape all rolled into one.
But this
Um,
woman taking the photos never saw anything. She didn't have
no,
any idea
none
that
of them
happened.
saw it. It happened so they didn't even see it. Just me and the wife. And the other couple coming behind us didn't see us because they didn't make the dog leg turn. It's just me and the wife saw it, and she was flabbergasted. That was her first sighting. And then one night at my camp, I'm turning the water on my cabin in Adams County. They're all over my place down there. The Bigfoots are. I got tree structures all over down there. This one in particular, I left it. But usually, what I do is, it's cruel, but I'll go around and knock them down because either A, they're going to get mad and make another one, or B, they're going to be looking for me. And so they'll be coming around. See what I'm saying? So I just go knock them all down, except for this one big one. If you go to my Facebook page, I think it's on there. You can see it where a guy's standing near it or under it. Um, um, Buckeye Squatcher on Facebook. And then I got a video when I was at East Fork one night with me and Mike Feltner. We're on a trail and we're doing wood knocks. And I got this on video. You can go find it on Google, on YouTube. I'm doing wood knocks as we're out in the woods coming back on the horse trail. And then all of a sudden, this big one, it must have been pissed because it started. You can hear it on, I can't play it on here because I'm talking to you, but it just goes bam, bam. Well, first you hear one bam. And then, because we were talking and we didn't have the audio on, or this time I had my video camera, but I didn't have it on and I missed a vocal because it did a vocal. There was a vocal we missed and we both heard it. And then all of a sudden you hear this bam. And then we both got quiet and he's like, do you hear that? Yeah, man, it's following us. And then all of a sudden you hear bam, 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 bam. It's on the video. You hear it clear as day. Well, anyways, they're trying to calculate. There's two of them. Then you hear a lighter one going pat, 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 pat. And it's like they were trying to triangulate on us. And the whole time we're walking forward off out of the woods on the horse trail. Well, as we're walking out, I'm holding my video camera to my left in the woods, and we stop for a minute, and I actually catch a juvenile Sasquatch sitting there squatted, and you can see his face plain as day. That probably only 20 people seen this video so far, because it happens. You have to know where it is exactly to see it on the video, and it's only there for about 2 seconds, and it's plain as day. You can see it. You can see it move, close its eyes, got the cone head, a gray face, squatted down. That's why I said I got a couple videos I like to show the world, but maybe I can run into that guy at the Sasquatch festival next month, Alex, whatever the guy does, Small Town Monsters, and talk to him into it or something. I got a couple good video things that the public should see, but I don't want them to know about all this stuff. Like, I don't like talking about wood knocking because that really does attract them for real. People say don't. I can tell them it's BS because I got proof it works. Yeah, what I usually do is I go to an area and this is what I do. This is how I track them. I shouldn't be saying all this, but this is what I do, and this gets attention. First thing I do is you get your recorder on and go hiking on a horse trail somewhere. Get there. First thing I do is I find me a nice old dead tree and I do the 3 wood knocks, just bam, bam, bam. And then what I do is I wait 15 minutes. And the second thing I do is the whoop, whoop, whoop. And I wait another 15 minutes. And then the last thing I do is ah. And usually when I do that, if they're in the area, either a stick or rock comes. And that's when I know I got buddies in the area. One night, this new guy, Mike Miller, was going out with us the first time with me and Mike Feltner at East Fork. I'm gonna tell you this story. This is just one story where he's a new guy. First time he's out at night with us, and we hike all the way in on this horse trail to a dead end where you tie your horse up and take a break. And it was like in November, and a cold front's coming through, and it was cold. It was getting cold by the minute, and it was starting a little sleep. But we're wearing jackets, and we're tough, and we're tough guys out there. And we hear this baby sound. We're just sitting there, and we hear this like we don't know if the wind and it was making the trees, but it's like a we hear like this little cry every now and then. So after we're back there, well, we start doing our thing, our routine where we do the wood knock, the scream, the howl, and we're there from like 11 to 12:30. And but we keep hearing this weird crying sound. We just couldn't make it out. But anyways, we decided we were gonna move to a different location. So we start walking out. We get about 5 minutes walk on this like 20-minute walk. And here comes a tree branch from our right over our head, just barely missing me. I'm in the front. Mike, I'm in the front. I think Mike Miller was behind me and Feltner was in the back. And Mike Miller goes, "That's funny, Mike, throwing a tree branch." And I go, "He didn't throw it, buddy. That was in front of us. That didn't come from behind." And he's like, "What?" So we started double timing to get out of there because reality was sitting in that something just threw a branch at us. So we start double timing, not walking or running, but just picking up our pace. It was exactly 5 minutes later because I had my voice recorder on. And here comes a second branch from the same direction, right to left, right in front of us. Just a big branch and land in front of us. So we double timed it out there and we got to the road. And poor Mike Miller, he was turning white in the dark. He was scared to death. And he thought we were pranking him, but it was actually a creature throwing branches at us. And we got out of there. And that was his first encounter. So then we went down to another part of the park, and we went down to this inlet. And we're down in this section, down by where you park your car, but you got to go around this little secret inlet to get back to this little beach. And we start doing our stuff down there. And then next thing you know, here comes rocks right across from the other side, right at us. They're throwing rocks at us through the woods. And we're getting all this on our recorders. But as they're doing that, we could hear one sneaking around trying to come from behind us up in the woods. So at that point, we decided to bail out. So we got out of there because one sounded like it was trying to come around behind us. And that poor Mike Miller got a good dose that night, his first night out and having all that encounter. But that's just like one encounter that happened.
I mean, do you feel like there possibly could have been a young Sasquatch and you guys were getting a little bit too close to their living room, so that's why you were getting things thrown at you?
I think on that night, yeah, because we were hearing that little cry or moan, and I think that was probably Mama saying, "Get out of this area." That's what I was taking it after. It was more or less trying to shoo us out of that area. Probably didn't want to see the baby or something. I don't know. It's probably defending it. But the ones down in the inlet, we egged them on. We were egging them on, and they started throwing rocks across the inlet. That's what they do. They like throwing rocks. One day we were back there on the Orange Loop at Salt Fork, and I got this somewhere on one of my things, but it's on YouTube also. But we were coming back around headed towards Hozak Caves when you do the big loop. It's way back. It's like a 6 mile hike. And we were about 5 miles in and we were coming up this little hill and all of a sudden you hear this whoo, whoo. I never heard that in my life. It sounded like a monkey. It just went whoo, whoo. And then as we're going about another 5 minutes, we're going down this little ravine and here comes rocks. They're throwing rocks at us. Me and Mike, broad daylight, throwing rocks over our head. Just, there goes a rock. And that was back there headed towards Hozak's cave. But we were still back there a couple miles in from that. But yeah, rocks were flying. One night we were out down by Boy Scout Camp Oyo down there at East Fort. No, where was this? This would be down in Adams County area. There's an old Boy Scout camp, and up on the hill one night we were out there egging them on, doing the whoops and howls and wood knocks, and they pushed down two trees. It was a dead quiet night. We were egging the bud, and they pushed 2 trees down within like 5 minutes, and I think that was enough. And I think we said we're getting out of here. So we took out of there that night. When they're pushing trees, it's time to go. So that happened one night. One night they snuck up. The women were in the vehicle, and we were behind the vehicle, sitting in chairs in another place, in another location. And the Bigfoot must have bellied up to the car, and it stuck his hand on the vehicle and just shoved it, and then took back off, because the women jumped out of the car saying that was funny shaking the car. And we're like, what are you talking about? Yeah, you guys just shook the car. We go, we didn't shake the car. Well, we got back to camp, and you could see where this big handprint pushed on the side of the door, like it was down low, like shimmy bellied up and just boom, pushed on the door. And that was probably 10 foot from us by doing that. That's how brave they are. They'll come right up to you. It's like, what? Another time we was at another place. They did it again. They pushed the car again with the wife in it. So yeah, these things can get up to you close, and you don't even know they're there. They're like, I call them the ninjas of the forest. What I call them. I've had many run-ins with these things. I'm just thankful I ain't dead yet. That's all. The way they throw rocks, I start wearing a hard hat now because I don't want to get hit in the head. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they can be
So I
pretty
wear hard
accurate.
hats now.
They can be pretty accurate if they want to be, from the sounds of it. Do you think, Mark, that they know you by now in some of these areas that you go into?
Down at camp, yeah, but not at the other places. I ain't been back at them places. I just been mainly working my area down in Adams County lately, but I'm sure if I go back to Salt Fork or wherever, they'll know exactly who I am because it's a routine I do. So they'll know who I am, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure they know everybody's routines are. I'm sure they're not but if it's been years, they might have passed on the ones that knew me, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know how long their lifespans are. I just do the research because I know they're real. I belong to the I Can't Turn Back Club because I've seen them with my own eyes 3 times now and had over 33 encounters with them. I've got video of them. I got rocks being thrown, recording them. Like Terry and Treba, they were on Monster Quest. They was with us at Salt Fork one night, and they were leaving, and we were behind them, and the Bigfoot threw a rock and smashed their truck as they were leaving. Another time, me and Mike Feltner were hiding in the bush at East Fork State Park, and a car was going by, and the Bigfoot must have thought about us on the other side of the woods, and it was throwing a rock at the vehicle leaving. We witnessed that. They like throwing rocks in Ohio. I don't know about anywhere else, but they like throwing the rocks and sticks. They'll definitely do that. Yeah, they like doing that. I don't know. There's so many encounters I've had with these things, just messing with them. But then, like I say, it's like fishing. You don't always get activity. You can be out there nights and nothing go on. This is putting in years of dedication to do this research. I'm not just one of these wannabe people. I just go out and do their work. You know what I'm saying? I want to get a picture, a good picture of them. Well, I got video. Like I say, I got video one. It's pretty good.
So
Not
you
many
said, but
people
that
seen it.
video, Mark, that's the one that you mentioned that you would love to have Alexander Petikoff take a look at. Like, that's not for public. That's not out in the public eye yet, right?
No, it's none of these are, but I like it to be in the public eye because this little guy is clear. I mean, it's when people say clear, this one he was pretty close. He's probably 5, 10 foot. He squatted down.
Now, I don't blame
And
you if this is the case, but
the thermal image is wild because it starts out with one head, then it starts out with a smaller head, and then it starts out with a third head, and then a rock comes flying at us, and it's wild stuff.
is that the one that Cliff is saying that it looks like raccoons on the thermal
Well, that's
imagery?
what he told me was raccoons. I go, raccoons don't throw rocks, and he probably didn't know. He didn't pay attention enough to the soundtrack or nothing. Because this is witnessed by 3 people what happened. It wasn't no raccoons. Raccoons can't throw rocks, can they?
So, with the video that is not out for public consumption that you were mentioning for Alex, and
Well,
I
it's
don't,
not out yet. It's whatever he wants to do. If he can help me out, we can get this out if
yeah.
he wants to do it.
So,
It's a project.
I mean, and I don't blame you if this is the case, but did you not have you not put it out there because of the fact that pretty much anything that anyone ever puts out, people just call BS on?
No, actually, this video with the Bigfoot on, it's actually on Google, but it's under a number. Unless you know the number, you're not going to see it. It's only been viewed by 100 and something people. And then I also put on there, hey, Bigfoot's in here, but you got to know where it's at. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't pay attention, you're not. It's only a 2-second shot.
So you didn't put that on your Buckeye Squatcher Facebook page, or
No, that's not on there. It's actually on Google. It's on YouTube. I can show it to you on my phone. It's there, but it's all there. But it's not brought where people know where it's at, because it's not like, hey, this is the video you need to see. It's under a number. Back in the day when I did it, it put it under like a 20 number thing for the video, and that was it. It didn't say, hey, this is Mark or whatever. It's just numbers. It's crazy. But anyways, yeah, these creatures are real. One day at camp, they threw like, I bet they threw 20 rocks when I first camped out there. It was me and Mike Miller. And he got hit. One went right over my head, and the second rock caught him in the leg. And he stood up and he said an expletive to him. And after that night, I had all the woods pushed back to undergrowth. And then since then, I also had the wood timbered. So it pushes them even further back, wanting to be right next to me. But they're there and they do come around. They just ain't staying there right now. But they're everywhere in America. It's not just Ohio. Anywhere there's woods and people don't go, there's going to be creatures. You know what I'm saying? They're out there.
so Mark, what is the YouTube that you keep mentioning? Is that your YouTube?
Well, the video is on YouTube.
How
Yeah.
can people find that? How do you look that up?
That's the question.
Oh,
Like I
so
said,
that's the one that you're saying is it's just so it's uploaded on an old account or something that's just
yeah, exactly. It's upload on an old account. It's there to be seen. But if you don't know where it is, you ain't gonna see it. You ain't gonna see the creature because it's at a specific time and point. But you do hear the wood knocks and all this other stuff going on. You see how we do it, the whole 9 yards. You see how they were trying to triangulate us if you pay attention to it. And we're talking about, hey, we're going to eat. And the whole time we stop, and I got the video camera on, and this creature was like, it happened to be one of them, one in a lifetimes at the right spot to get the right shot. And I wasn't even doing it. It just was an accident. And when I uploaded this thing to the YouTube, my brother-in-law is the one that said, hey, you got Bigfoot. And I'm like, what? And he says, yeah, go watch for it. And it took me a long time to find the exact spot, but it's there. And I got a white one on video too somewhere, but I got all these cards. I just ain't went through them. You know, I ain't retired yet. When I retire, I'd like to write a book called County Road 6 about all these encounters. Because Coshocton's where a lot of this started in Coshocton for me. One night we were leaving the Bigfoot convention. We stopped at that County Road 6 where I'm trying to tell you at this specific place. And it was walking through the woods. It's by a graveyard. You could actually hear big footsteps out in the pine. These pine trees have since grown to like massive 50 footers or something. And then you hear this. It was definitely bipedal. And we said, we're out of here. We got in the car and left. Um, but yeah, it just depends where you go. They're just everywhere. The creatures are just, I don't
so
know what to say, but they're real. That's all I can say is it's real. I'm in the club of no return. I've seen them. They're real. I can take people out. You just got to go do your own thing. You know what I'm saying? But I've been trying to get younger people to get into the field so they can carry on the research. That's why I want to
yeah.
promote this. That's why I want to promote these videos and stuff so kids can get. We need younger people to carry on my work. I'm getting old. I'm 62. I'm getting old. I've been doing this a long time, since 90. See what I'm saying? I'm trying to get younger people interested, or whoever wants to be interested, because this is a real phenomenon. This isn't one of them hokey things. This is a real thing. They're there. What they are, I can't tell you. And to me, they're flesh and blood. They're not of another dimension, but they could be, because one fact on this whole Bigfoot thing is 35% are connected to aliens. What I mean by that, 35% of Bigfoot sightings occur a day before or after a UFO has been spotted in the area. So is there a connection? Because I have seen one picture back in the day, an actual still picture done by camera in a big cul-de-sac. I think it was out in Alaska or somewhere up north, Canada. And the footsteps just stopped in the middle of the snow. Where'd the creature go? It just stops. There's no backtracking. There's nothing. So what happened there? See what I'm saying? What was that connection? I don't know. So as far as that goes with the aliens, I don't know. Then you start getting into the missing 411. You start getting into Fred Roll up in Alaska, talking about how the Bigfoot, they'll actually kill you up there. I don't know if they'll eat you, but up there they're pretty violent in Alaska. They can be 10 to 12 foot tall. There's stories coming out of Alaska that are just brutal. When these things go out there and pick up a generator and slam them in your cabin and leave an indentation, that's pretty big.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories of them being quite feisty. I mean, do you ever worry about that? Are you actually getting physically injured or carried off?
I don't worry about it because I actually go pretty. I try to think of myself as well protected because at nighttime your best buddy is the light. Blinding something is your best buddy. Because think about it, if you flash something in the eyes pretty bad with something pretty bright, you're gonna get away. I can tell you this one incident happened with me and Mike Feltner at Salt Fork one night. This is a true story. We were back there on the Orange Loop. There's a park. You got to go out of the park and go to another parking spot. And then you go on this horse trail. There's a picnic table. But you go back there about maybe quarter of a mile on the trail. And we were sitting back there. There, two people were sitting in the parking lot, Terry and Treba, which were on Monster Quest. And me and Mike Feltner were back there in chairs, sitting in chairs. And I'm looking this way, and he's looking over my shoulder the opposite way. And about 10 more foot behind Feltner, going away from us, I put a lantern. And then on the lantern, I put aluminum foil where you couldn't see us, but we could see behind us all out that way. And we had an escape trail behind us. And so we went back in there about 10:30 at night. And I had on bionic ears, and about 11:30, I could hear something out there. Within 100 yards, you could hear footsteps where it's like being a ninja just going, shh. It was quiet, and you could literally hear footsteps bipedal moving. And what was cool was like when a vehicle come by, a motorcycle or car, that's when it really moved because it was using sound from other things to move closer to us, is what we detected on the bionic mics, which was wild. So they would use other sounds to sneak up to you closer or to go around you. So that was interesting to learn how they use their resource to get around you. So we learned a lot of stuff with these creatures. One night we were coming out of the woods. They were waiting on us. There was 3 or 4 of them waiting on us, and there was 4 of us coming out of the woods. And it was like the movie The Gauntlet. I kid you not. We were coming out. We was probably about 100 yards from the parking lot, and we started getting rocked, like 3 rocks at a time. It wasn't one rock. They were waiting on us. And they were basically saying, get out of here. And they were just bombarding us. Luckily, nobody got hit, thank you, Jesus. But we were getting out of there. And yeah, they started throwing rocks like it was a gauntlet, 3 or 4 at a time, wasn't just one. And then we got in the parking lot, started screaming, come out here, chickens, come out here, come out in the open. But I could never entice them to come out in the open.
So you guys knew that
But
there was 3 or 4 of them because the rocks were coming from 3 or 4 different directions?
no, they were coming from our right, 3 or 4 at one time. It wasn't like one rock. It was like they were coming like
A
there was
deluge.
like one rock, you go about 2, 3 foot, another all at the same time. It wasn't like one kept throwing the rock. It was like 2 or 3 of them doing it at the same time.
Man, you guys know how to tick them off a little bit, huh?
Yeah, that kind of ticked them up. But I tried to get them to come out and park lot in the open, but they wouldn't do it. I was like, well, but yeah, that's they like throwing rocks out there. But that's why I said now I learn to wear a hard hat at night if I go out and start messing with them because I don't want to get clocked in the head. Because one day I was hiking out, like you said, they're good aim. And I kid you not, I was coming out and it threw a rock and it hit like 3 inches right above my head, right against a tree, and came back towards me. And I squatted down that quick. And I had my video camera going that time, so I turned to my right filming. And I got home to download it, and I accidentally deleted that footage, which I'm sure it might have been there if we could have broke it down. And then I have another footage somewheres on a chip where I got bum rush, where we found a footprint this day back there 4 miles back on the Orange Loop. We found a footprint, me and Mike Feltner. So we went back to go cast it. As we're going back there, we find the footprint, and we took pictures of it. So we decided we have to come back the next day with our casting material, but we didn't cover up the footprint. But anyways, before I saw the foot, he found the foot first. So I'm standing there. He's probably about 50 yards from me up the trail. And this creature comes running. I guess they call it the bluff charge, and it coming at me just, and then it stops. And I got my video camera on, and I'm watching this area. And that's another one that accidentally got scrubbed too. And I know it had to be there. Or that, or I may have the chip. I don't know. I got all these chips I don't go through. But anyways, that's the first time I've ever been bluff charged or bull rush, whatever you call it. But after that, I got on my walk and started calling for Mike. And I don't know if that made the thing back off or it just decided to go back up the hill. But I never did see it. But I was bluff charged at one time. That was scary.
I'll bet. Yeah, but it's a good thing that it's a bluff charge and not a real charge. For as much as you guys go out there, and I've also met the Mikes, both of them, and they are amazing. I got to actually go out on a little night excursion with those guys, and they live and breathe this stuff just like you do. So they're really great to go out with.
Yeah, see, they started out with me, and then we kind of parted ways years ago. But yeah, they all start out with me, and they kind of went their way because they go out promoting their sounds and doing that, and they go out doing their thing, and I do my thing. That's what's cool is we keep in contact. Especially I do with Mike Miller. But they do their thing, but I do my thing. I'm independent. I go out and do my research because that way they can't, when you start getting, I used to like to think that being in one of them groups was cool, but all them people do infighting, you know what I'm saying? That's what keeps me doing my stuff. I go out and do my own research. Me and my brother-in-law, pretty much, he's with me most of the time. So I just do my own thing. That way you don't have all the politics of being in a group. And that way I know my research, I don't have people, trying to adulterate my research or just whatever. So I find that the less people kind of helps getting activity then versus having 20 people in the area. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I definitely do. And I am very highly aware of Bigfoot politics. That is a real thing. And
yeah, because when you start getting into the pareidolia and this and that and all this other infighting, I just want everybody to come together and let's get this thing settled. We know they're real. We don't need to infight or let's all try to get all this evidence together. If we all work together, we can solve this issue, what they are, why are they here, are they part of our ancestry, what are they? That's what keeps me going is the science behind it. Like, I want to prove what it is. If I can find an arm, a leg, capture a young one, something hard evidence other than, a picture, a video people say is hoaxy and want to fight and argue and say it ain't real AI, whatever. Seeing with your own eyes is reality. And the only way people are going to do that is get off your computer chair, get out of your car, get in the woods and do the hiking and do the research. And you're going to find, hey, there's stuff out here. But don't go unarmed and don't go unprepared. You're going to have to carry bear mace. I'll highly recommend bear mace. Carry you a GPS locator in case you have a problem where they can come find you. There's things you can do to protect yourself. So you have to be wise if you're going to go out and do it. But just don't go out there blindly. Hey, let's go be dumb. You're going to have to do a little research and listen to podcasts, what people do to understand what you got to do. Like a lot of these podcasts are people out there doing the actual stuff, filming it and putting it on there. But if anybody really wants to do it, they can contact me at markmills@yahoo.com or markmills2007 at yahoo.com. That's my email. But these things are real. They're out there. I've been doing it for years. There's a lot of places I can go and do my thing, and they're going to let me know if they're there. It's not a hokey thing. I got pictures of footprints of tree structures. What do they mean? I don't know, but I find hundreds of them. I spot them like a hawk. That's like my forte is the stick structures. I spot them anywhere because they can be very minimal to very huge. You just don't know. Like I found a teepee structure one time. I found a nest structure one time. I found a tree, a pine tree. They snapped over and were staying underneath it for a while. They're kind of like nomads too. I think they just find an area and lay down. They don't really stay in one place because that's why nobody can find them. I think they're always moving. They stay in the area, eat, move, eat, move. I think that's why it's hard to find these things because they just don't stay in one location unless you can find where they're habituated, but then that might not be good for you. Because I just heard a story the other day where this poor guy went hiking to Cleanman's Dome. He disappeared, but they found his body, his skeletal remains up in a tree, neatly stacked in a ritual thing. So there's something crazy going on in the Smoky Mountains. That's a true story. They found his bones stacked, re-put together up in a tree, stacked neatly with his pocket knife and a piece of rope. No clothes, no nothing else. So how'd he get up there? Who did that? That's the stuff that's. It, they did a research in the last 20 years that's happened 4 times where people disappeared and there's something strange going on. And they said it happens in the dead hollows or something. So don't go in that area. Wherever they talk about the dead something over there in the Smoky Mountains, don't go.
Mark, all I know is if you have some kind of a mind to snag a live juvenile, just be very mindful of where mama or daddy is, if that's a plan of yours.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's not going to happen. That's why it's all dream because the Indians said it takes 10 Indians to get a juvenile. That's how strong they are. That's a baby. So if you, like you said, imagine mom and daddy. So that's why you really don't want to mess with that. But I'm saying that's what it would take to prove it would be a dead body, something of that nature. But then again, if we go back to the Indians' legends, the Bigfoots are cannibals and eat their own. That's why we can't find the hard evidence. Is that true? I don't know.
Could
But that's
be.
why I do my research.
Very well could be. Well, Mark, I really appreciate you coming on. I just wanted to reiterate that his Facebook page is Buckeye Squatcher, and he admitted, get in touch with me, Mark Mills 2007 at yahoo.com. Mark, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you for the interview. And I like sharing the information of the truth because that's what it is. It's the truth.